I wouldn't even say he's a system quarterback. I would just say he's the perfect quarterback for that system. Like they.
So now, how would you define? So now, how would you define system quarterback? Because that feels a lot like semantics.
That's just my politician coming out.
Is Brock Purdy a system quarterback? It depends what the definition of is. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 76 of the Harvester Sports Podcast with your hosts. I'm Noah.
I'm Austin. I don't know what the hands was, man.
Yeah, that was panic emo.
Go.
Instead of filming this spot, I think we need to find a restaurant we film a public podcast in.
I think that's smart.
And it's probably Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel.
They're going to see us walk in and hook these mics to the table.
Yeah.
Order a chicken fried steak or two, and then start talking.
And they're going to be like, oh, no, you have to pay every hour if you want to stay here. I'm like, that's not a problem. Milk.
We will keep ordering food the whole time. First, I just want to say I take absolutely no pleasure in being right about Dak Prescott.
Said by a man who takes pleasure.
I don't prey on his downfall, but I just said it's inevitable.
He's right.
But yeah, Cowboys looked really bad against the Niners. We're talking about that game, but
yeah, I mean, what can you do? First, I want to talk about what Micah Parsons said post-game, saying, I see as they're not better than us. My boy, they blew you out 40-10. They're probably better than you guys. He said, we're equal caliber. We're still like same caliber of playoff team. I'm like, didn't look like it. Yeah. If you play them again, it's probably be same deal, my man.
And if you think about it, they won by 30 points, which means that the Niners are at least like 60 points better than the Giants by the transitive property.
I knew
blowout. It all adds up.
How many no's could get thrown in there somehow? But I don't know. It looked bad. Dak did not have that good of a game. I know he had to start throwing it to try to make something happen, but I mean, stuff wasn't happening in the beginning of the game. Like first quarter, things were already going bad for the Cowboys. It wasn't like, oh, it was close, or it was like go and stay till things went bad. It was bad the entire time. The Niners just looked like the better team, which they were. CMC played great, another touchdown, adding to his list. I think he needs 1 or 2 more games to break the all-time record for most consecutive games with a touchdown. He's probably going to lock that in. But I don't know, it just looked like the Cowboys were the worst team, which we all thought, and now they've lost 3 times straight to the Niners. So.
And the Niners look as good as ever. They're just an incredible football team. Shanahan's a genius, and they play good football. What
exactly. And what more can you say about Brock Purdy? Like, are we finally past the point where people can be like, oh, he's trash, or it's just like a little like.
Well, I don't think anybody's ever said he's. I mean, some people do, but
some people say he will never make it in the league because of his last name. I'm not going to say he said that.
Yeah. Probably people who you shouldn't listen to on anything,
probably people
including on some other topics.
I have blocked.
But yeah, I mean, I think that as long as he's playing for Shanahan, there will always be the system quarterback allegations out there. I mean, if you remember before Tampa Bay, there was system quarterback allegations against Tom Brady.
It's true.
Not that like anybody who knew ball was saying that, but people being like, well, Belichick's just a great coach, and they always have a great defense, and those are all true things. But also, when somebody's consistently doing good, you can't keep being like, well, great coaching, even though Shanahan is probably the best coach in the NFL. I would say he's definitely up there. Brock Purdy has yet to really lose a game in the NFL.
Every game he's finished, he's won. Except for the one game, of course, where he hurt his elbow, which he did not finish. The only game he's lost in his career so far. Yeah,
so I think he deserves a lot more props than some people give him because, I mean, he's just consistent about his winning. Yeah, he's consistent about this football thing he does.
Yeah, the little football thing. And if you go from strictly just a narrative standpoint, like his story is so awesome. Going from Mr. Irrelevant to not losing a football game that he's played through, like he's really landed in the best situation for a quarterback like him. And I wouldn't even say he's a system quarterback. I would just say he's the perfect quarterback for that system. Like
how would you define? So now, how would you define system quarterback? Because that feels a lot like semantics.
That's just my politician coming out. But I mean, like
it depends on what the definition of is.
Yeah, you have to really look into it.
Is Brock Purdy a system quarterback? It depends what the definition of is.
Depends what the definition of is and system quarterback. But he's landed in, like, he landed in a great spot for him. And going from Mr. Irrelevant to being able to come here and win football games and prove people wrong is amazing.
You know? And I think the whole way that team is set up is a great team. It's not just like, I mean, system quarterback, like as though you throw anybody in there and they do well. I don't know that that's true, but the system is a great system for developing a young quarterback.
Exactly.
Like there's nobody that's better to play for, that's going to give you confidence, give you open receivers, give you everything you want as a young quarterback who's trying to establish himself in the league. And I think the Niners have been a great place for him to do that. And he obviously is incredibly talented and is like absolutely flourishing in the league.
And if you look at it also from a point of like Trey Lance, even though that scared me. Even though like I like Trey Lance,
not every quarterback can be successful in that system.
I know, right? Like not everybody can do good, and it sucks. Like you take a guy, you never know in the NFL. You take a guy high in the first round, he ends up getting replaced by a guy you took dead last in the draft. It's just the way it works, and I think it's a great story for Brock Purdy, and I'm excited to watch him go far in the playoffs this year.
From one blowout to talking about another blowout with the Patriots.
Okay.
Why did the Giants even get blown out this week? Yeah. Probably.
Anytime, the answer is yeah.
Yeah, but the Patriots, really tough loss, looked really bad.
Yeah.
And that moves them down to 1-4. I want to get your thoughts on who do you think at this point in the season should be more on the hot seat, or who's more to blame? Who are you putting on the hot seat, Bill Belichick or Mac Jones?
Well, it's hard because even me being a Giants fan, that Patriots-Giants rivalry, I've always been a fan of Bill Belichick. So I'm going to lean on that. I'm going to lean on that it's not Bill Belichick's fault, and I think Mac Jones is more on the hot seat. It's hard because we've seen Mac have good games. We've also seen Mac have a lot of bad games. And at this point in the league, other quarterbacks who do not play the Patriots, do not play for Mac Jones, have had way less time to develop and have been pulled way faster than Mac Jones has. Because Mac Jones has been given such a long chance now in the NFL nowadays. Like DC always talks about, rookie quarterbacks don't have that much long in the league now before you'll get pulled if you don't do well. So, I don't know. I would tend to trust Bill Belichick, the Super Bowl king, but I don't know. It's hard. But maybe it is time for Bill Belichick to kick his feet up and retire. I don't know.
Where did that come from?
I got
it's Mac Jones' fault, but also it's hard and Bill Belichick should retire?
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's hard. Hey, he's a 71-year-old coach now. Maybe the times have caught up to him.
All right. I mean, I think that putting the blame all on one of them or the other is not totally fair. I think that obviously Mac Jones was making some really bad plays a couple times, particularly the pick six he threw to Tyrann Mathieu. I was like, were you trying to give it to him? Or I don't know. I think it was Tyrann Mathieu, right? Yeah, where I was like, all right, good play.
When you have the
I'd do that in Madden, but yeah, like there's some poor decision making and some bad throws and bad stuff going on, but also, I mean, there's things that I think, in hindsight, the play calling could be better in terms of like, you know, there's things you want to do like establish a run game early so then you can run play action. There's a lot of stats that like the Patriots used to run more play action during Mac's rookie year, which is when he was actually his best was during his rookie year when he looked most promising, or other things like that where I think the play calling.
It's all right.
It was a little trick giving me a Coke Zero before we started filming. You're trying to make me burpee.
Checkmate.
But yeah, I mean, I think the blame has to be divided throughout different people, including the play calling and stuff. But obviously, Mac Jones not instilling a ton of confidence these days. Yeah. I still think there's hope for him because, like I said, as a rookie, he was really promising. But things have sort of fallen apart, and the Brady, the post Brady New England doesn't look.
Yeah,
which is crazy because there was a time where like after Mac Jones' rookie season, we were saying, "Wow, this is crazy." They went from one guy to they got their other guy, like he's the next Brady. They just went from Bam They had Brady.
Yeah.
One season with Cam, and then immediately into their next franchise quarterback. But now there's a lot more questions about if that is the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, it was the big talk of, wow, they only needed 1 year to rebuild, and then they're back in the playoffs. But, I mean, to be fair, for Mac, the roster really isn't, like, that good either. The roster isn't filled with that many stars, and especially after losing Matt Judon, like, you're going to have more troubles in the defense because he really is, like, the star of the defense. If you can't have that pressure, it makes the offense have to play better because the defense, you know, can't hold the opposing team's offense that well. And it's forcing Mac to have to make more plays, and it's hard. It's hard for a younger guy like Mac, and I hope, like you said, I hope they can figure it out and Mac can have a chance in the league. And I hope Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches of all time, can help him get there. But rough waters so far in New England.
Throughout a long period of time, the Patriots consistently had a top 10, maybe even top 5 defense. Consistently really great defense. Their defense has looked not nearly as good as of late this season. I think in terms of points allowed, I'm sure they're bottom half the league, and they gave up quite a couple to them boys in New Orleans. But then again, that's just how things go sometimes, you know. Sometimes you get cooked, sometimes you cook, sometimes you get cooked, and they got cooked.
Hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
And the Saints looked good this week.
The Saints did really. The Saints looked really good this week, and
Chris Olave got his first tutty of the year.
Finally, I was stressed. He's on my fantasy team. Sorry, Derek. The Saints look really good. Alvin Kamara is now the all-time touchdown leader for New Orleans. The Saints look good. They're continuing to grow every week. I'm excited for the Saints.
So I want to talk a little bit about the Monday night game. The Raiders beat the Packers. They beat them by 4 points, and a lot of people are talking about a certain play that was made by Marcus Peters when Christian Watson was close to scoring a touchdown. Marcus Peters decided to grab him by the horse collar in order to prevent that touchdown. Ended up forcing a field goal and winning by 4 points because they didn't score that touchdown. Some fans are calling for saying, hey, maybe the referees should have some discretion for a play like that where it is very obvious that he was going to score a touchdown. Yeah. If it wasn't for the decision to horse collar him, for sure would have gotten a touchdown. Should the refs have some sort of discretion to be like, hey, you were going to score a touchdown, we'll just give you the touchdown? Or do you think that that's unreasonable to ever like assume you're guaranteed a touchdown, we'll just give it to you?
Like that one, of course, he was going to score if that didn't happen. Good play by Marcus Peters, right? Like it's smart. If he's going to score, might as well try to get the penalty and throw him down. And it worked in the end. They didn't score a touchdown. They only got 3 points out of it. But I don't know. I think it just leads into murky waters with what can refs look at and call a touchdown? How can the rule be regulated? Like, can a holding call have been like, well, he would have broken it out and scored? It would start to get a little sketchy.
It feels like kind of a slippery slope to give referees that power to, at their own discretion, be like, oh, well, he was going to score a touchdown and just give someone a touchdown. Who knows what it could lead to as far as what you're considering as like, oh, guaranteed he was going to score a touchdown. Exactly. Slippery slope. Next thing you know, you're saying like, oh, if it wasn't for the pass interference, he was going to catch it.
That's where it gets really scary.
Or if you're going to be like, the way the league is with the Chiefs is basically like, oh, Patrick Mahomes dropped back, so basically that's a guranteed touchdown. Patrick Mahomes has the ball, so basically we can just assume that's a touchdown right there.
We can assume he was going to make the right decision.
Tyreek Hill's down there, and Tua has the ball, so we're going to assume that probably would have been a touchdown, which a lot of times it is, but you don't want to empower refs to be deciding the outcomes of games more than they already are. And to some extent, it's, you know, it is what it is. It's less a factor in football than it is in basketball already, where penalties are just a part of the game and you utilize that to your advantage. If you're down by a couple points, then you start fouling to force them to shoot free throws or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, you're not supposed to foul. It's illegal, but also it's part of the game, so you can kind of use it to your advantage. There is something to be said for, like, technically that rule does exist because of safety reasons. So, like, you don't want to be like, well, if I whack this guy in the head, it'll keep, or whatever. Like,
I mean, that rule is more based off grabbing a guy by the back of the neck and throwing him down is going to hurt him rather than it's a disadvantage to the runner, you know. And don't intentionally go try to hurt somebody, which that wasn't Marcus Peters' agenda.
No, definitely not. I mean, he made the smart play, which is that's a veteran move. That's the type of thing. That's why the Raiders got Marcus Peters, is to make veteran moves. And probably not, though. That wasn't specifically what they had in mind when they were like, we need veteran presence on the defense. But that is an example of why you want veterans that can think quick and be like, I'll take this penalty.
I wouldn't have thought of it. I would have dove.
I would have been reaching for shoelaces.
I would have dove in dirt.
would have dove, probably got in the face.
And I'm out.
So I want to talk about definitely not the Dodgers. This is not a baseball podcast. We don't talk about the Dodgers around here because it makes us sad. But I want to talk about, because now we're 5 weeks in.
Yeah.
Most teams have played 5. A couple teams have had their bye week already. But what are some teams, or what is a team that you think is better than their record? That their record currently isn't maybe as impressive as you think. Like, no, they're better than their record. I don't really know why I explained it. It's pretty self-explanatory.
It's fine. I get it. But
I was yapping. My bad.
But real quick, before I answer that, to talk about the Dodgers, I saw the pain in my dad's eyes. He moved the Dodgers from the main TV to his phone because he said they don't deserve to be on the big screen during Game 1.
Better man than me. They got off my screen completely. Yeah. What are we doing?
Did you say a team?
Well, that was when we were gonna do our Madden franchise draft, and I was like, I'm gonna have to do the draft while I watch the game. And I said, never mind, don't bother about scheduling around the Dodgers game. Have it right now. Don't care. One inning in, I've seen enough.
Yeah. Okay. Did you say a team that I think is better or worse than the record?
Better. What is a team that you think is better than their current record?
I'd say a team that is better. I know this is going to sound biased, and it probably is, but I think the Saints are better than the record. I think they had against the Bucks beat them fair and square. There's just a bad game for the Saints, but the Packers game, I think I can say without sounding dumb, but if Derek was in, they would have won the game. There's up 17-0 going to the fourth quarter. That happened. It's whatever. We move on. It's week 5. But I think they continuously get better week after week, like Derek and Kamara and Michael Thomas, all these guys have said in their interviews, like, this team is getting better. They haven't even found their role yet, and they're playing great, like against New England. They had a great offensive game, a great defensive game. It feels good. I think the Saints are going to be okay going forward, and I'm excited. I think by the end, or in a few weeks, we'll see that they were not a 3-2 team. They were a better team than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you love to see teams trending upwards.
Yeah.
And I think the Saints are a team that is trending upwards. Their defense has been really good all year. It's like offense was figuring out a couple things, but now they've got, highest scoring game of the year, I think, right? Yeah, and also shutting out the Patriots.
Biggest blow of Derek's career.
I believe it.
Felt good.
Sorry, I don't know why I said it disrespectfully. I didn't mean that.
I'll also say more disrespectful. It felt good to watch a game in the fourth quarter go like this and sit back and not be like, oh, God. But, yeah, their defense played great.
The second half, and I was like, we're still throwing? No inside zone?
I know.
I was like, okay, well, it's the second half. We have a lead, so probably do inside zone punt.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not the game plan?
And then,
we're still foot on the gas?
I said, we can take Derek out. He doesn't have to fight for his life going into 1 minute drill.
We'll let him rest.
He said, we don't have to go. We don't have to fight for it. But yeah, Saints defense played great. It's awesome to see a team like that. It's insane. They're a top 5 defense right now. They look amazing. They look like they're having fun out there. And the offense, like I said, getting the rhythm, they're going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, now that Kamara's back,
yes, sir,
a little more comfortable. Now he's got two weeks under, and I think Jamal's coming back soon, right?
Yeah, and Foster Moreau, touchdown. Attaboy. Fought for it. What about you? What do you think is a team that is better than the record?
Personal foul on you for not being subscribed to the YouTube channel. Fix it.
Well, I think one team that's better than the record right now is, I'll say, the 2-3 Rams. I think that they...
Good choice.
I think they make the playoffs, honestly. Mm-hmm. I think they snag a wild card spot. They're 2-3 with those 3 losses coming as a 7-point loss to the Niners, who are incredible.
Yeah.
They had a recent 9-point loss to the Eagles, who are the other undefeated team. So 2 of those losses are against undefeated teams.
Oh, no.
and then the other is a close 3-point loss against the Bengals, who... You can decide whether you like them or not, but they're not a bad team, and Joe Burrow has the potential to, if he plays like Joe Burrow, then I think they'll probably be fine and make the playoffs, even though they're 2-3 right now also. But yeah, with 2 of those 3 losses coming against undefeated teams, the Rams haven't really looked bad. Even this last week when they lost to the Eagles, going against a good defense that showed up, good passing defense, but still Matt Stafford looks like an experienced veteran quarterback. And that was the first week having Cooper Kupp back in the fold. I think they'll continue to find ways to use different weapons. Hopefully Aaron Donald gets a little more involved, is a little more of a disruption in the coming weeks. But I think the Rams are going to finish with a record a lot better than 40% wins. Yeah. I think they find their way into the playoffs probably.
I totally agree. I'm a big Rams supporter. I think the record doesn't show their true potential right now. And again, it's only week 5, but I think they got a lot more to show going into the season. And losing to the Bengals, which haven't been the best of the season, but losing to the 2, some could say, best teams in the NFL, nothing to worry about. Losing close games to the Eagles and Niners, you're all right. You'll be okay, Rams. I have faith.
Yeah, that camera keeps flashing something at me. So hopefully it's flashing. Good job. Keep it up. Everything is going great. It's all recording perfectly.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. I got scared, started tearing up because I thought you were looking at something in the closet. So I was like, it's over. Who's in there? Who's in the dark closet that I can't see right now? Oh, it's probably saying everything's doing good.
Yeah, it's probably just so you know, keep going. Everything's perfect. Don't touch anything.
Well, if something with technology flashes at you, it's usually going, you're doing great.
Yeah, keep it up.
There's nothing wrong, by the way, if you guys are wondering.
That's some teams that you think are better. Now, what about the flip side? What is a team that you would say is worse than their record? That you'd maybe put on fraud alert, say their record makes them look a little better than they actually are.
You're awful for having me about to say this team and then saying that they're frauds before I start talking about the Cowboys. Yeah, so that spoiled it. My team that I think is worse than the record is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. All right, you blew out my Giants 40-0. You beat the Jets. What to do, man? But I mean, you just got blown out by the Niners.
The Zach Wilson Jets, too.
Yeah,
not the Aaron Rodgers
exactly,
Jets.
Yeah.
Although nobody's played the Aaron Rodgers Jets.
Yeah, they've played a little bit of them.
Wow. Have they?
You played a little bit of them. You lost to the Cardinals, which even the Giants could beat, and you blew the Giants out, which I guess it's in the NFL any given Sunday, and you blew out the Patriots. But the Cowboys, to me, even though I feel like I say this a lot, haven't done anything this season that makes me scared of them or look at them and go, oh, they're going to be like real threats. Like, they've beaten the teams. Well, not even they've beaten teams they should beat. They lost to the Cardinals. They've beaten some of the teams that they should beat and have lost games that they shouldn't have lost to teams like the Cardinals. And then all this talk about you're going to be competitive coming in against the Niners. It's this big rivalry. And you guys make the game boring. Like, you guys make this big historical matchup, the Cowboys versus the Niners, that's been going on since my dad was little. You make this matchup look like, oh man, I don't even need to watch this game. Glad my fantasy team's doing great though. It's sad. I don't hope the Cowboys can turn it around because I'm a Giants fan. I hope you guys get worse. But Cowboys are a cool team, and yeah, that's all I can say about y'all. You guys are a cool historic team. That's when you know you're bad, when that's the best thing I can say about you guys. You guys are a historic franchise.
We're good in the 90s. I respect that.
Yes. You know what? Before I was alive, you guys really showed us. What about you? What do you think is a team that's worse than the record right now? Also the Cowboys.
You know what? Let's double down on the Cowboys.
I'd like to throw my hat in the ring for the Cowboys.
Let's dedicate another segment of the show to talking about just straight Cowboy slander.
While we're on it, let's also dedicate DC8 breakdown. Whoopsie.
Oh. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are currently 3-1. First place in the division. Whoop-de-doo.
Not for long.
And first, I want to put it out there. A lot of people say the Buccaneers are worse than their record just because Baker Mayfield's not really that good. That's not really necessarily my reasoning, although, I mean, I'm not by any means going to argue like Baker Mayfield's like an elite talent or that he's going to be the franchise guy in Tampa Bay. But I will come to his defense and say I was in the building for his 98-yard game-winning drive, so I'm never going to count him out. I was
going to say, from what we've seen in person, he is the greatest quarterback.
And how many times does it get brought up on this podcast because we're both sred from it?
Yeah, no, it hurts.
I see. It made me question football.
Eat my hot dog up there going, for real?
But the Bucks are 3-1. Their 3 wins have come against...
Careful.
the 1-4 Vikings,
Be gentle.
the 1-4 Bears. They understandably lost to the Eagles, and then they beat one-armed Derek Carr.
Thank you. That's right.
And so I'm not going to be the guy that's like, oh, if Derek was healthy, he would have won. But maybe I will.
Well, let's talk about it.
Maybe with a hypothetical that you have no way to prove me wrong.
Oh, you have an AC joint and you came back that week?
So I mean, yeah, the Saints obviously struggled. They didn't play.
Yeah.
They didn't play well in that game. And the Buccaneers capitalized, so they deserve credit for that.
Good win.
They
Bucks.
deserve credit for that win. That being said, a 3-1 team. 2 of those 3 have come against like bottom 5 teams in the league. Bottom 3, bottom 2 teams in the league. Probably those might be the 2 worst teams in the league. The Panthers have the worst record, but I feel like they're just not as fun to hate on as some of these other struggling teams like the Vikings and the Bears. There's not like Bryce Young. I don't want to hate on Bryce Young.
Yeah.
People are being like, why did you draft CJ Stroud? I'm like, you said to draft Bryce Young.
Yeah, you guys liked Bryce.
Everybody in hindsight is like, why didn't CJ Stroud go number 1 overall? The pretty much close to consensus was Bryce Young. Let's put that. You were the same people being like, oh, just because Bryce Young's little, you don't want to take him number 1 overall. And now you're like, why'd you take Bryce Young number 1 overall? You can't defend him and then flip on the man. But I digress. Yeah, I think
the Texans are usually good at their quarterback picks. So
the Buccaneers, I would say, are they actually have been really good too.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Texans do good drafting quarterbacks.
Especially the first one.
They don't do good protecting them.
So I'll say the first one they did had better moral character than some of the other ones they drafted. One of them that comes to mind.
Looking back on it, I would say I messed up on one of them.
But yeah, I think the Bucks are they're not a bad team, but I don't think they're at the end of the year they're not going to win that division. And I think they might be able to snag a wild card. No, I don't think they do. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to look at the NFC, then get back to you with official certified no pitcher prediction.
Because we don't throw out just, crap at y'all. We think about it.
Not usually.
Grandma, I'm sorry.
Not usually.
Grandma, I'm sorry for saying crap.
Unless it comes to the Cowboys, then I'll reach in and be like, well, crap.
Oh, yeah, double down. Sorry, Grandma, 3 times.
Sorry, Osmond's grandma.
I mean, I agree. I think
It's happening.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that saying they aren't going to hold up to this record that they've produced so far. But I also would agree and say it's not because Baker's trash.
Well,
I don't think that.
here's what I'll say about Baker.
We'll talk about it.
I would say that heading into this year, nobody thought that the Buccaneers were a trash roster. It's been the Buccaneers have a great receiving core.
They just need a quarterback.
Good O-line. They have a lot of good pieces on that team. Mm-hmm. They're just a quarterback short. Mm-hmm. So the big question was Baker Mayfield coming in. Is he going to be that guy? And Baker Mayfield, to his credit, has been good enough to do well in that system.
Yeah.
And that's what he was brought there to do, was to do well in that system. Unless you're a little more conspiratorial, then you're like, he was brought there to tank. But we're not conspiratorial over here.
Never have been. Never will be.
Unless it's about
Bigfoot.
Epstein.
But I mean, you're right.
I will say the Loch Ness Monster is real. It's one of the dinosaurs that survived.
Have you seen it? But you're right. They came into the Buccaneers roster. Levante David, Vita Vea on defense, Chris Godwin.
Throw names.
I'm throwing him at him.
Where's Leonard Fournette? Where'd he go?
What'd you do to him? That's the conspiracy we're getting into. Where is Leonard Fournette?
Where is Lenny? Will we see playoff Lenny somewhere? Perhaps.
Yeah, but then people forget that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are still there. 2 great wide receivers, a great wide receiver duo, a great offensive line.
I didn't forget.
He didn't forget. He probably drafted one of them.
I bet Marshawn Lattimore didn't forget.
No, he did
probably
not.
looked at him.
He probably looked at him this last game too. But yeah, all they needed was a quarterback, and Baker came in, which I mean, he's probably. They just needed a quarterback to help get this roster to a certain point to win games. They didn't put him in there just to be trash, and he's not being trash so far. He's doing good.
Mm-hmm. Honorable mention for a team that I think is worse than their record, because currently this team just had their bye week. Oh, little spoiler alert! Who could it be? This team just had their bye week.
You know your bye weeks.
So they've only played 4 games. They're currently 2-2. So I'm not going to say they're worse than 2-2, but I will say this is a team that a lot of people are pretty high on. Pretty much consensus predictions have them as a playoff team, like snagging a wild card spot. I just want to put it out there, not saying that they're bad, although their quarterback, I need to burp, and I panicked. I went to straight Justin Herbert slander.
You guys know who it's going to be yet? Oh. I'm sorry for betraying you with the Coke Zero. I'll say this, I am sorry. I didn't mean it. I didn't know it hurt you.
Oh my goodness. Pretty much across the board, a lot of people and analysts have this team as a playoff team, snagging a wild card spot, getting in there, winning at least 10 games or something like that. Personally, I'm a little more hesitant.
Not me.
All I'm going to say is that after 4 games, the Chargers still do not have a high-quality win. Here's the teams the Chargers have played. They're 2-2, by the way. And I know you can only play the teams you beat. Or
beat the teams you play.
Yeah, that'd be more accurate. You can only beat the teams you play, so I don't always want to criticize, like, oh, your record's good. So. Yeah, but you also lost twice, so... So the Chargers lost to the Dolphins.
Fine.
And then they lost to the Titans, which is a worse loss than the Dolphins. I think we can all agree. And then they, by 4 points, beat the Vikings. Yes, those Vikings, the ones that suck.
This is my face watching you guys play the Vikings.
And then they went on to, by 1 red zone interception, win.
Don't say the team name. Be gentle.
Then they went on to, because of one red zone interception, despite one of their players recording 6 sacks in the game, it came down to an interception in the red zone to win by 1 possession against the Aiden O'Connell led Raiders in the rookie's first ever game. I'm not saying the Chargers are bad. I'm just putting in perspective what they have done this season. They haven't done anything super, super impressive to me thus far this season. That being said, I also am never impressed with the Chargers because I don't think they're that good, and I'm a hater.
Well, let me translate for him. He's not saying you guys are bad. He's just saying you guys play like you're scared.
I am saying I'll be sitting right here coming for your dome if you don't beat Dak Prescott and the Cowboys in primetime this Monday.
I'll be watching like this.
Also, can we just say this next Monday Night Football game, perfect, because I'll be hating on one of them. They can't both win, and whoever loses,
this game's gonna make me so happy.
Whoever loses will be getting flamed on the pod next week. It'll be we either get a hate on the Cowboys or we get a hate on the Chargers.
Dude, that's just perfect paradise.
That's just beautiful. And then if they tie, then we say they're both
they're both
equally bad.
They're both bad.
It's not because they're both good.
No, they're both bad. Bad.
But the Chargers do have, I think they have football games coming up, so they could do good in those football games.
I would think they have football games coming up.
They have football games coming up that they could do better in, and I think they play some teams.
Yeah, they at least have, what? At least have a few weeks. Hang on. We forgot about the greatest football game ever happening this week. 10 a.m., Vikings-Bears. Banger game.
Wow, that's
and
good.
I'm praying the Bears win because I'll piss my pants.
That was